All right, your two favorite things, the NBA playoffs and the Masters.
Yeah. April.
I think these are 50% of our texts in April are just possible bets for two of those things. And fortunately, there's odds for all of it. So
Amazing.
you said, let's try to figure out from a betting standpoint, NBA teams with master guys, who are the doppelgängers? And then if we had to pick a combo to bet on, who would that be? So that led to a bunch of texts with us. And I'm just going to go through the list that we had. And we'll do it from descending or escalating odds for the NBA team. So the favorite will be first, and then we'll go backwards. So the Boston Celtics are the favorite on FanDuel right now to win the NBA title at plus 170. Rory McIlroy is not the favorite to win the Masters. He is 10-1. And yet, when you sent me your list, you said Rory's the Celtics. And I was like, I completely agree.
Oh, good.
It's kind of perfect. There's an Irish lineage with both teams. There's just an incredible amount of talent. And I don't trust Rory in the last couple holes of a fourth round. And I don't trust the Celtics in the last couple minutes of close playoff games yet. I thought it was perfect. Great job.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, the other thing with both Boston and Rory, lots of championships, lots of chips. It's just been a while. I mean, Rory, had 4 majors, but he hasn't won one since 2014. Yeah. And the Celtics, we're right there. They were in the finals in 2022, just can't get across the goal line. Rory, in the Open Championship 2 years ago, lost at the very, very, very end to Cam Smith. So thank you. Yeah, I like that parallel.
When you said it's been a while, you mean one title since 1986 for the Celtics?
For who?
For the Boston Celtics.
They traded titles with the Lakers there, 2009, 2010.
What's more realistic to you, the Celtics at plus 170 or Rory McIlroy at 10-1? If you had to pick one.
Damn. That's awesome. Rory.
Rory's more realistic to you than the Celtics, who are going to probably run through the East the way everybody else is playing and will then have a puncher's chance in any series. I would say the Celtics are more realistic. It doesn't mean I think they're going to win the title, but I think they have less ways for it to go wrong than Rory. Also, we haven't seen Rory do it in 10 fucking years.
That's a great point. Fair enough.
We should mention to the audience, you're Rory's like last believer. You're like his Bundini Brown.
I this week, I make wagers on the majors soon as the odds start becoming available. So I do have some investment in Rory to win the Masters. I just haven't done it recently. I'm very, very cautious. I'm going to bet him to top 10 this week. He's on my top 10 card.
We should mention on FanDuel, we have ringer specials that we did. Whole bunch of bets that we liked. We'll get to a couple in a second. 30% profit boost on those. Okay. This was another one I thought you did a great job on. Denver plus 360. Somehow they have the second best odds. And yet I think they're the team all of us would pick if your life depended on it. And then Scottie Scheffler, who right now is plus 450 with the best odds to win the Masters as we tape this on a Tuesday. Very similar, where all of the evidence is pointing to both of those, Denver and Scheffler, being the best bets. And yet you look at them and you try to figure out ways to talk yourselves out of it. Scheffler's been the best player in the world for how long?
Going on 2 years now, over 24 months. I mean, Jon Rahm had a run in there, including, winning the Masters, but overall the body of work for Scheffler, it to me warrants Scheffler over Rahm.
If you had to pick one of these, what would you pick? Denver plus 360 or Scheffler plus 450? You put $100 down on either.
It's so hard. I'm going to say Denver.
I would say Denver as well. There have been some little signs, though, the last 2 months. One of my things with them was the way they execute at the end of these games, nobody can beat them. But they had a couple games recently where they didn't execute as well down the stretch and teams beat them and made you think their record against above 500 teams, it's good. It's above 500, but it's not amazing. I think they're like 27-20 as we head into tonight's games. So, Murray, it's like, what's going on with his knee? Why do you have to sit 2 weeks?
It's always that. It's always what's going on with Murray. That's the Denver story.
So what is it for Scheffler? What's the thing that worries you?
His putting. He switched putter. He had we went from a blade putter to more of a mallet putter. Hilariously, Rory McIlroy gave an interview. Actually, he was in Los Angeles at Riviera, sitting in the booth, and he's like, I think Scottie would really benefit from trying out a mallet putter. And the next week, Scottie puts a mallet putter in his bag and wins 2 consecutive tournaments.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. But it's still a little bit the thing. Scottie had a chance to win 3 consecutive tournaments, but his putting, he missed a 5-foot putt that would have put him into a playoff on the 18th hole, the 72nd hole of the tournament. So that's the only thing that really sort of keeps him close to the field. I mean, the amazing thing with this guy, he had an injury during the Players' Championship. He had to get like physio treatment during one of the early rounds.
Right.
And even with that, he still went on to win. So he can play hurt. I mean, that's part of the thing with Scheffler. Denver needs Jamal Murray to be able to play hurt to be able to repeat.
The next one we argued about and switched the golfer a bunch of times here, but Milwaukee is 8-1, which, by the way, is hilarious. Milwaukee is the 3rd best odds of all the NBA title teams. They losing to everybody. They've never looked worse.
Yes.
We settled on Jon Rahm as 11-1 as their betting doppelganger for Milwaukee. Same kind of premise, right? Maybe 3 years ago, Giannis was the best player in the world there for a split second. And so was Jon Rahm. Giannis won a title. Rahm won some stuff. Rahm in a slightly different position than maybe he has been in years past. And yet there's a fear factor with both sides.
Yeah. So, you said Giannis 3 years ago. Yes, that's when he won the title, but we still talk about him as a potential MVP candidate, rightfully so. Like,
right. There's been no drop off.
We considered this year, is there going to be a stretch that he puts together that the Bucks put together where we're having an argument about him as the MVP again?
Wait,
Jon
Rahm,
what
happened? Giannis said no.
Well, to be
Giannis
fair,
said, settle down, guys. Pack it up.
You know who said no? Dame Lillard's calves, Dame Lillard's hamstrings, Dame Lillard's glutes.
And the new rules with Dame Lillard, where he doesn't go to the free throw line anymore, and his body's already breaking down. Oh no! Yeah. By the way, he doesn't really play defense. Hey, we tried to tell you all of this before the season. Nobody listened to us.
Father Time said no, but the Rahm thing. So Rahm is the defending champion of the Masters. He hasn't lost his fastball. He won the U.S. Open, 2 years ago. But he made the super curious decision to go take $350 or $400 million and go play on the LIV Tour. And he's quietly been complaining about it ever since. He hasn't played a full 72-hole competitive tournament since last November, one of the last DP World Tour events. He finished that. He took the money. And he's going and playing in these live events. They're all wearing shorts and playing boop boop de doo music. Okay, great. I hope you're having a great time. That's what the money was for. But he's like, oh, I see these guys, these tournaments. So he's missing out on the opportunity to defend titles that he won last year because he's playing on the LIV Tour. He couldn't defend his title at the American Express. He couldn't defend his title at Riviera. And he said, I'm watching TV. I'm watching golf on TV, rather than playing in events that I think he'd prefer to be playing in. So there's like stuff going on with him. It seems
almost like the Bucks having Adrian Griffin as a coach, getting rid of him, and then bringing in our guy Doc Rivers, who's 500 since he took over.
Yeah. So like unlikely for Jon Rahm to repeat. It hasn't happened. It doesn't happen in the Masters hardly ever. And also
unlikely for Milwaukee to keep Chris Middleton, Dame, Giannis healthy to just figure out on the fly how to be an elite basketball team in 2 months when they've shown no evidence that they can.
That's it.
Wow, this is another one we argued about. The Clippers are somehow 8-1 on FanDuel to win the title. We put a bunch of guys in this spot, and then you settled on Xander Schauffele at 14-1. Why?
Mainly because the Clippers in this iteration look to me to be a bridesmaid, look to me to be capable of getting all the way up to the finish line and then falling down for some reason. For the Clippers, that reason is because they're the Clippers. Now, if they all go to the same hyperbaric chamber and they all get on a PJ and get over to Germany and see the same doctor.
Don't forget Mexico. Mexico too.
Right.
Maybe a stopover in Miami as well. They do the triangle.
You don't have to go as far these days. That's a great point. They all find the rejuvenation machine. James Harden and Paul George and Kawhi, and they all show up like, ready for action. Then you can see the Clippers, like, we talked ourselves into them over the course of the incredible run they went on.
I'm completely out.
I understand.
I'm completely 100% out. So what's the case for Schauffele?
Another guy who has been right up to the finish line and then hasn't been able to get across it, with the most recent example being the Players' Championship, where he was in the lead. He had the lead through 54 holes, went into Sunday with the lead, and bogeyed the 14th and 15th hole, which let Scottie Scheffler opened the door really for Scheffler to come in and get across the to the finish line with a number. And then, Xander had opportunities to birdie coming down the stretch, couldn't get it done, missed out on a playoff. And, the other sort of glaring thing on Xander's resume is the year that Hideki won the Masters. Xander had a chance on the 16th hole to be, sort of right there and perhaps force a playoff, grab the lead, hit the ball in the water. His tournament was over. So he's a guy, like a bridesmaid. He recognizes it, but until he does it, I'm very skeptical.
Yeah, Xander became
he might be James Harden. That would be the thing, right? Like crazy talented, right up to the brink.
All right, the odds start jumping here. OKC 14-1, probably going to be the 3 seed, and you put debutante number 1 at 33-1. Our
Ludvig,
guy from Sweden. Tell the audience who it is.
Ludvig Aberg. Yes, the very handsome, square-jawed Swede who is at the tippy top of all of your advanced metrics in golf. This is his first major that he will have ever played in his life. But he finished his college career, came on to tour, won on tour, and immediately put himself like as a top 15 kind of guy in all of the metrics that matter the most. So he's a guy whose name we're going to start seeing on important Sundays. It could be this coming Sunday. But the thing about Augusta, everybody will say it, it's one of the popular, Masters Week observations that nobody's won in their debut since Fuzzy Zeller in 1979. So unlikely to win this week. Has
Chicken
all
and Collards
Fuzzy? That's him. That's the one. That fuzzy right there.
You know why people don't win the first time? Because they go to the 18th hole and they see how narrow that fucking fairway is and they get psyched out. It's like, Jesus, I have to hit that through there.
I mean, we're
an amazing course.
Just as fans. Yeah. So Oklahoma City, right? I mean, they talk about a team that checks all the boxes. Top 10? Are they top 5 in both offense and defensive
top
rating?
5. They checked all the They checked all the boxes except for making a trade deadline trade that could help the team. Every other box was checked. They still have 39 first round picks. I like that. OKC, maybe a year away. Ludvig, maybe a year away. This was another one we changed our opinion on a couple times. Phoenix 20-1, a team that neither of us has any confidence in, nor should we. So what golfer fits that profile? Well, we landed on Jordan Spieth at 22-1. And there's some Spieth KD parallels, right? KD won a couple titles last decade. So did Spieth. It seemed like the ceiling of KD was maybe going to even levitate in the top 10. Didn't quite happen. Spieth didn't quite happen for him either. And yet there's a blind faith in both entities. Yeah, there's still a blind faith like, and then by Wednesday before the Masters, you're talking yourself into Jordan Spieth.
Well, he did finish 4th in the Masters last year. He's still not 30 years old, so there is still lots of time for him.
Phoenix has KD,
things.
Booker, and Bradley Beal, and Grayson Allen.
That we did on this very podcast, I think, talk about the idea, or maybe it was on East Coast Bias, that like Phoenix because of the way the playoffs, the NBA playoffs tend to play out. If you have guys that can score the way Phoenix is capable of, they can find the right matchup or even two, and it wouldn't be like a stone cold stunner for them.
It's the Denver recipe last year where that series was 2-2 after 4 because those guys played 2 awesome games and then they couldn't sustain it. But you figure like
last year was just
2-2
KD and Booker.
Right. So 2-2 after 4, maybe something Jokic foul trouble in game 5, or Murray has to lead the game, or Booker just goes nuts. Or listen, I'm not talking myself into it. Just telling you now. I don't see it.
I got Jordan Spieth in a top 10 and a top 20 bet. I mean, it's just, it's the Masters. Yeah, I'm required.
Minnesota at 22-1. You have debutante number 2 at 40-1, Wyndham Clark, a guy that you've liked for a while.
Liked him a ton. Big Municipal guy. Shout out our pal Harry Arnett and Municipal. So Wyndham Clark, since winning the U.S. Open at LA Country Club, we watched it with our own 2 eyes. I came out and visited. He has validated that by being one of the 3 best golfers on earth so far in this 2024 season. He has been right there with Scottie Scheffler in a lot of the categories. He won at Pebble Beach. Now it was rain shortened. He went to bed, Saturday night and woke up Sunday morning the winner because, the California equivalent of a nor'easter came through there and wrecked the course. But he had a putt that hit the back of the hole at the Players Championship that would have put him into a playoff with Scottie Scheffler. It should have gone in. The golf gods were somewhat unkind in that respect. But he is another guy. He famously said, I will not go play any rounds at Augusta until I've earned it. And so it wasn't until
I said that too.
Just this spring that he finally played some practice rounds at Augusta. He declined invitations all the way up to this point. So Minnesota was
I want to earn it. I want to earn my Masters. I want to be. Oh, and also if I get invited, I would play tomorrow. I had a hard time with Minnesota. Do you think that they're a debutante? Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Okay.
They've never ever won a playoff series since 2004.
Okay, great.
But
good.
I think the advanced metrics case is good though. Like everything you just laid out with Wyndham Clark. Minnesota, they're number 1 in defensive rating, right? 107.7. Almost 3 points better than anybody else. For net rating, they're second. They're probably going to be the 1 seed in the West unless they screw it up this week. I saw them in person on Sunday at really good seats. That team is locked in. That team likes each other. That team plays defense in a real way. They're very well coached. I was watching their coach, who I've never been like a giant fan of, but I was watching like, I'm not against him, not for him. I never really put thought into him, but I was watching the way like he handled himself during the game with the players, with the referees. And he's got this really calm demeanor. It's like when you watch, when your kids have a play date and you see somebody else's parents and the mom is just super calm and has her shit together and you're like, oh, that's what that looks like. Same thing with him, where it's just, even when there was bad calls, he would kind of wait for the referee to walk over next to him. And then he'd be like, what the fuck was that? But he was always like calm, always like really like kind of supportive of Ant, because they're really trying to get Ant to go to this next level where he's beating guys off the dribble, but not going to the basket like a rocket ship. He's now, if you watch him really carefully, he's beating guys off the dribble, but he's slowing down and he's picking his spots, and it's a little like what the evolution of what happened with Jordan, not to compare him to Jordan, but he's trying to slow the game down so he can find shooters. And it's not just like, I'm an athlete, I got by somebody, I'm going to the basket. Now he's going by people. He's using his body. He's just trying to figure out, oh, do I want to post this guy up? Should I just accelerate, get to the basket? Should I bring the guy over and then slash out? And Finch was so happy with all the decisions Ant was making, combined with the defense they have and Gobert. They got Towns coming back. I think they're really dangerous. I'm kind of back in on, I think the 2 teams that could beat Denver are Minnesota and Dallas.
Wow.
And that's where I've landed. Right now, with a week to go in the season, those would be the two I picked.
In the last 10 years, we've had two guys show up and finish runner-up in their first try at the Masters, Jordan Spieth and Will Zalatoris.
Right. I think Minnesota can make the finals? I do. Do I think the odds are fair for what it is now? I think a Celtics versus Minnesota finals is 16-1. That's kind of a long shot. That's fair. I wouldn't say Minnesota is like a favorite, but if you're looking for teams that could beat Denver, I think they have the infrastructure because they can play defense and their main guy is getting better every week with decision making. And they have Conley. They have a bench. Naz Reid, holy shit. I mean, we've liked Naz Reid for 3 years, but Naz Reid is like a fucking weapon now.
Well, Wyndham Clark loves this. Wyndham Clark's thrilled to hear all of this BS.
Well, here's the other thing. They might have the 1 seed.
They might.
You're going to have to beat them on their court. So I don't know. I think the odds are pretty live. All right. I mentioned West teams that I think have a chance to beat Denver. And it's basically, for me, it's Minnesota and Dallas. Dallas, I can't believe. I think I've changed my opinion on them 10 times. I'm ready for them to let me down in any round, any week. But the Luka-Kyrie combo and how well they're playing, combined with the defense and the puncher's chance they have just with the 2 scorers they have, it's a better version of what Phoenix has with a guy who's a little more confident at the end of the game. And you can pick either of them, but just, I feel like they could go in any city, any stadium, and not be scared. I don't love the coach. I think it's going to be an uphill battle because they'll be an underdog. They'll be the lower seed in every round. It looks like they're going to be the 5 seed. So every round they'll be the lower seed. But I feel like they have a puncher's chance at 24-1 to win the title. And their doppelganger is a guy named Shane Lowry, whose odds are not commensurate with Dallas. They are 55-1. You had the great Justin Ray on Fairway Rollin', and this was his favorite Masters non-favorite pick. What did he say?
Well, Shane Lowry checks a lot of boxes in terms of the kinds of attributes that are successful at Augusta. His strokes gained approach, he scores very well. His strokes gained tee to green, he scores very well. His best Masters, you need to be somebody with some experience. Yeah, strokes. He's 3rd in strokes gained approach, 5th in strokes gained tee to green. Strokes gained around the green is positive, and his best Masters finish is 3rd. Those are all attributes, the kind of attributes that go along with historical winners at the Masters.
You left out unafraid, which is why we thought Luka was Luka-Kyrie as a combo, the perfect kind of parallel for that.
I loved you using puncher's chance because one of my favorite vignettes from this most recent season of Full Swing on Netflix was the Ryder Cup. And Shane Lowry, not afraid one bit to go get his nose in the mix with Patrick Cantlay's caddy, Joe LaCava, who created a kerfluffle with Rory. Big boy Shane was not afraid to let his opinion know. Now, he had the role of peacemaker, but it looked like at any minute he might have been willing to flip the switch a little bit and play a little bit of Irish bar jig on him.
So Shane Lowry won a British Open. Kyrie made the biggest shot of a Game 7 of a finals.
Yes.
It's a little bit of pedigree. I like it. I like that as a combo. Yeah. I think this is the funniest one. Philly is 25-1, and we put Beefy Bryson with them at 35-1 as the doppelganger. It's perfect. They're physically imposing. Oh my God, Embiid. And you kind of talk yourself into it. On East Coast bias, our poor guy Raheem has already talked himself into Philly being a live playoff sleeper. Meanwhile, I don't know if I would bet the over on Embiid playoff games at 4.5. And DeChambeau is just the perfect parallel for them. Yeah, I can see it on paper, but I don't see it.
Two guys, two situations where they have absolutely no chance whatsoever to win their respective title. You said you made the most salient observation with Embiid and Philly. Like, let's get Embiid through 2 playoff series. Can we see that at some point?
Yeah, let's see a month of playoff basketball.
Bryson has been playing well on the Live Tour. It's just that I think that Augusta National is beyond him. It is, the way he's wired, his brain, he hasn't yet. Augusta National requires an artist, not a scientist. And Beefy Bryson hasn't yet shown. His best finish was his debut, where he finished 21st. And since then, in the last 3 years, he has 2 cuts. Now, one of them, he missed the cut. One of them is because he was hurt. But
what about in 2021? He lost to the Hawks in 7 in round. Oh no, that was Embiid. Sorry,
that was Ben Simmons.
Yeah, that was Ben Simmons. All right, we'll blow through Cleveland 37-1. We have either Cantlay at 40-1 or Morikawa at 50-1 for this. Like, a lot of talent on paper. There's been a lot of conversations about them, and just a ton of signs that neither of these guys are going to do anything. You've liked Cantlay in a bunch of these tournaments in the past, but I don't see you backing him.
He's having a down season. He's spending a bunch of time and energy and brain power on trying to get this deal done between the PGA Tour and Live. He's leading part of the player contingent on that front, and it seems like it's detracting from his attention. Yes,
it's like how Donovan Mitchell is on Redfin looking for condos in New York.
Well, it better be Brooklyn if it's not going to be Manhattan.
No, it's going to be New York. Miami. This is a great one. Miami's 43-1 to win the title. Odds have been dropping week by week. Brooks Koepka, 22-1. Very similar on-off button situation with these two entities, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the playoff version of Miami, they've been to the finals, the NBA finals twice in the last 4 years with teams that nobody on paper and by regular season performance, you would say, oh, yes, we could see it coming. Brooks, I like so much here. I love Brooks to win this week. I think 5 people can win. Brooks is on that list of people that could definitely win the Masters this week. The same is now. I don't think Miami is going to win the NBA title, but like under what scenario would you write them off? Like what team in the East can they flat out not compete with, not beat?
I don't think they can beat Boston if Porzingis plays the entire series.
Okay.
I just think there's too much size.
Okay.
But Porzingis is a little like the Embiid thing. Like every week we get by where he's healthy, I'm happy. But you watched him in Washington last year. Porzingis is really good. We didn't have anybody like him last year.
He's good. I like him.
I like the Brooks Miami. That's a really good one. Just ripping through. Knicks 60-1. Put Finau at 45-1. Really fun story, fun crowd.
Yeah.
So always fun when Finau's involved. Beloved. Like Jalen Brunson in New York.
Right. The most beloved Nick in 50 years. Tony Finau, beloved on tour.
New Orleans 80-1. Victor Hovland 35-1.
Victor's in a funk. I don't know what happened. He ended last year. He won the tour championship and then promptly undertook some kind of a swing change, new coach, and he's in a funk. He hasn't got himself out of it yet.
But
New Orleans just can't get healthy at the same time.
Right. Ton of talent on both sides. Victor's got a bunch of first rounders coming up. Indiana 100-1, Cam Smith 50-1. Just talented fun, but ultimately not expecting much.
No idea. Yeah, no idea what to expect.
Much. Maybe he could upset around. Orlando 180-1. Cerruti's team. Will Zalatoris 40-1.
So the Zalatoris thing is we're not sure. He's performed excellent at the Masters, and he's also been a guy.
Like Orlando has a real defensive identity, which should work in the playoffs.
It all feels like it's a brand new thing. So for Willie Z, he was injured for the majority of last year. He withdrew from the Masters last year, in fact, because of an injury. But the talent is there, and the eye opener with Orlando could be the 2 seed. They played the Bucks twice.
That's why I put a good odds guy next to them, because if Orlando's the 2 seed with the defense that they play, and if they get any sort of home court advantage at all, who the hell knows? Maybe they win like 2 rounds.
Who the hell knows?
We've seen weird shit happen. We saw that Dame CJ Portland team made the West Finals one year. We saw a couple weird Celtics teams make it. You know, the year they didn't have Hayward or Kyrie, they still made it to a Game 7 in the East Finals. Like, you never fucking know. And if you have home court, it's a game changer. And you made the key point. Orlando has a chance to get a 2 seed. All right. This is the big part of the pod right here. The Lakers and the Warriors. Lakers 32-1 to win the title. Odds are dropping. So I'll give you two choices here. Are the Lakers going to be a possible Hideki Matsuyama? Like a 22-1? Sleeper veteran? Don't count them out. Oh shit. It's round 4. I can't believe he's one back on the 9th hole. Jesus. Or Phil Mickelson at 270-1 with dyed black hair and Ozempic Phil.
Ozempic Phil, right. This is fantastic. So Hideki is also on my list of guys that can win. Absolutely can win. He is my pick, in fact, on Fairway Rolling on Monday. And we'll have a chance. Nathan Hubbard and I will go on the Fairway Rolling podcast. It'll be up Wednesday afternoon. If you want to finalize your card, here are our final thoughts. We're getting some information from the grounds right now. We'll know what the draw is. There's bad weather on Thursday. So
yeah,
whether you play early or late and whether Thursday gets washed out, like all that stuff matters. So we're going to do a final show on Wednesday. But Hideki is on a tear right now. Not that dissimilar from the tear that the Lakers have been on. 8-2 over their last 10, fighting hard to get all the way up to the 7 seed, and they're not exactly completely ineligible for the 6 seed as we sit here taping this pod. Now, a whole bunch of stuff would have to happen.
Well, they're game back from Phoenix, who's 6. They're game back from New Orleans, who's 7. And, oh no, I fucked that up, Kyle. Starting over. They're a game and a half back from Phoenix. They are a game and a half back from New Orleans for the 6-7. Not insurmountable. Everybody's playing each other. I think losing that Minnesota game on Sunday, I was surprised because LeBron, I was surprised they used LeBron for the Cleveland game and not the Minnesota game because I feel like they probably would have beaten the Cavs with or without LeBron. It's the way the Cavs are playing. So anyway, they used their bullet on the Cavs game and then sat him for the next game. Davis got hurt. Minnesota really wanted it. They're probably going to be, I think they're going to pass Sacramento, which they're basically a half game back, and they'll be in the 7-8 playing New Orleans. If they go to New Orleans for the 7-8, are you picking New Orleans? Because I'm not.
No, sir. No. And then if they get to the 8 seed, 7 seed,
if they get to the 7 seed, they could potentially play Denver, a team that I don't think they'd be unafraid to play. I don't know if they'd come close to beating Denver, but I don't think they'd be afraid of the matchup.
What would the numbers be for Lakers, Oklahoma City, or Lakers, Minnesota? Like, both Minnesota and Oklahoma City.
I think Minnesota is a bad matchup for them. They have just
because of the size.
They have defenders to throw at LeBron. They have the Gobert Davis thing. I watched it on Sunday night. Like Davis was not too pumped to go against Gobert. I just think that's a bad matchup for them. OKC is the team they would want, right? I mean, their ideal would be if they could get to 6 and play OKC in round 1 with the size they have. I think that would be their dream. So we'll see. We'll see if they can put it together. So you're more on the Matsuyama camp for them than the Mickelson washed up camp.
Yes, although
I think I am too.
Anything can happen here this last week.
Golden State 60-1 to win the title. We have either Dustin Johnson at 45-1. Super talented, peaked in the past.
Have been there. Have done that.
You want to count him out. You should count him out, but there's something stopping you from counting him out. Or just Tiger Woods 150-1, ceremonial, ovations at every hole. And it's just, we're happy to have the Warriors as a 10 seed, but ultimately nothing is going to happen with this team.
So one of my favorite bets, we'll get this into the Ringer specials. And this is all I'm rooting for. And the same would be true of the Western Conference playoffs. You can parlay Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson both to make the cut. And that pays like over 320. It's like plus 323 or something like that. Yeah. I went on the parlay combobulator at FanDuel to see if I could parlay the Lakers and the Warriors and Phil and Tiger all together. Phil and Tiger to make the cut along with the Lakers and the Warriors to make the playoffs. You couldn't do it. You can't do it.
Well, maybe FanDuel will go off the menu for us.
Oh, that could be one of your off the menu selections for sure. But
so that would be what's Golden State to make the playoffs?
They're plus 245, some crazy number.
So plus 245, plus
the Lakers are minus
the Lakers
110.
are, yeah. So that's probably plus 245, 5-1, plus 3-1. Yeah, that's probably like a 15 or 16-1 bet.
There are a lot of ways it could go wrong, but
much tougher
fun.
road for the Warriors.
Yes.
With that said, I thought they had no chance to make the playoffs, like none, zero. But if they play Sacramento in the 9-10, I think they would beat Sacramento.
So we
think.
Yeah, we didn't do Sacramento. For me, I would give Justin Thomas to Sacramento.
Oh, no, forget Sacramento. I think Golden State would beat them. Justin Thomas, fine. Golden State beats them in the 9-10. And then the Lakers beat New Orleans. And then Golden State goes to New Orleans. So New Orleans would be in a situation where kind of a, little bit of a up and down basketball market.
Yeah.
And they would have the Lakers and LeBron coming in for one playing game. So that's going to be a shitload of Laker fans. And then you have the Warriors coming in for the next playing game. And that's going to be a shitload of Warriors fans. That's a tough situation, man. All right.
And I go to the grounds at Augusta National, score yourself a ticket and see what the groups look like. The fans around Tiger and Phil.
I would put the Warriors more in the Dustin Johnson camp.
Okay.
And I would put the Lakers more in the Hideki Matsuyama camp, just because this playoffs are going to be a free for all.